I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Another thing of how Oswego terms. Good morning. Okay, let's see. Let's start right off with approval of minutes. Do I have a motion to, thank you, second? Any corrections, additions? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passed. Okay, let's get right into EP1. Resolution authorizing budgetary modification accepting funds from the New York State DOT. This is for transportation only, that we have these funds coming in from DOT to the tune of $851,539. Now, Heather, as I understand, this can only be, well, motion to discuss.
I will move it.
Thank you. Second. Okay, Heather?
These are DOH monies, so Department of Health monies that can be used for transportation. We've been receiving them every year. We don't expect them, so we don't really budget for them. So this is just an additional payment from DOH. We don't know when they're going to end these. That's why we don't budget for them typically, but it is nice to get them.
Yeah. Do you use them all?
We haven't spent them in 2 years. They're still in the fund.
Is it use it or lose it, or can it accumulate?
It can accumulate. It's funding that we have upfront. It can be used for capital and operating. So it is very
Nice. It's a nice, very thank you. Anyone have any questions about these funds from DOH? Greg?
I don't have any question about, I have a question about the resolution.
On this?
Right. The reason I asked, okay, this little thing we have here,
Right?
everybody got.
Mm-hmm.
So how much does this cost us?
We just did it in-house.
Yeah, I know.
Just a copy.
Just to copy it, but the people had to work on it, get it all together there,
Yeah.
right? So it costs us money,
Mhm.
but yet, who makes out these resolutions? I'm following you now.
Okay.
Who makes these resolutions out?
They're
Types them all up.
drafted by the departments and finalized by the clerk's office.
The reason I'm asking that, because you had to have this, everybody got a copy of this, okay? But yet, here on the resolution, it gives us what the acronym is. Department of Health, DOA. And it's on just about every resolution. So we wasted money and time, people doing this, when it's on the resolutions, and it took maybe, 30 seconds for them to write that in there. And what I'm saying is we wasted money, again.
I disagree 100 million percent.
100 million percent.
100 million percent.
very helpful.
100 million percent.
Yes, I look at this, I don't know how many times, I look at it with different ones. Maybe this resolution gave me what this is, or even a meeting I'm in and somebody's giving out these, I'm like, okay, now I've got it. I have used this over and over. This has been one of the best tools I've had since I've been here for 8 years, and we're throwing all these acronyms, and now I can look it up, boom.
So is this the first time you've done this?
We did one maybe 15 years ago.
15 years ago was one done, okay?
It wasn't as comprehensive.
And we all knew
Now,
it.
the point I'm making, Mel, all right, it helped you, but the department head, when they're making these resolutions out, can take 30 seconds and put it in there. Yesterday during public safety, the one department head was giving out an acronym, and he was told not to use the acronym because, not everybody had the acronyms. So, I mean, I just upset about wasting taxpayer money on it. It helped you, but, for 15 years and for years before that, everybody, looked at it because it was in the resolution.
It's not
It'd be a
always
lot
in the
easier.
resolution.
Yeah, but it can be put in there.
Yes,
A
but
lot cheaper. That's it.
I
Thank
beg to
you.
differ, but that's okay.
It's just one point. Yes, all the department heads have been asked to, on the first usage, write it out and then do the acronym. But what this book also includes is acronyms that you get in other correspondence from other agencies we don't control. So, the state is emailing us all the time, different sending stuff. So it's just simply designed to be a help for when an acronym is used, and it's not apparent what it is for.
I need
Tremendous things.
spending some.
Any other comments about the resolution? Hearing none, those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passed. EP2, resolution authorizing budgetary modification for the reallocation of unexpended DOH funds, number 202-40751, within the Office of Mobility Management for the amount, motion to discuss. Second? Okay, what this is money left over. They were wrapping the buses, and this is money that was left over to the tune of $8,958.54, and now it just goes into the general fund of mobility management. Is that correct?
It's going into the DOH, back into the DOH pool.
The pool that we have?
Yes, so there should be roughly 2.1 in that.
That's good. Anybody have any questions or concerns? Hearing none, those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All passed. EP3, resolution authorizing budgetary modification, Department of Workforce Development, transfer of funds for summer youth employment program, staffing expenses. This motion to discuss.
Move it.
Second. As I understand what it is, we have so many applications that we needed more staff, and we've already allocated the money, so you're just transferring it over to payroll.
Yeah, what we do, we make a very, I guess, tight budget, but majority of funds from the state just go into the work experience for the kids. So we're just moving out of that line into our staff. Just my staff was having to enroll all these kids because we enrolled 150, but we got about 230 applications, which is about double last year. So it was not what we estimated in staff time originally.
Well, that's good.
Good problem.
Any comments, questions, concerns? Hearing none? All those in favor? Opposed? Passed. Okay, we have one bid for the procurement of fiber optic cabling. It went to the lowest bidder, Wesco. I don't even think it was the lowest bidder, though.
EP4.
Oh, I'm sorry, I did. Okay, what it is, there we go. Resolution, oh, that's right, that came in, okay. Resolution appointing members to the planning board. Motion to discuss.
Move it.
Those in, second. What this is we had put it out there, but we forgot to get people to sign the oath card in time. It wasn't done. So basically, it's the same resolution we did last month. This is simply to get everybody in. They're trying to get a meeting set up, I believe, this month. So at that meeting, we'll get everybody to do the oath card, so this won't happen again. So it was just a little slip. Question.
I have a question. How did you determine the term limits for each?
The term limits are set based on the way it has been set up historically. The problem we ran into in the past with not having staggered terms was just that they all came off at the same time, and then you're ending up putting on 10 new people every 2 years. So the thought was set up as a staggered, which would allow people to come off a couple of years instead of all at once. So it's the same process that was done historically for the group.
Any questions, concerns? All those in favor? Any opposed? Passed. And going right into then our bid, and I do believe this was not the lowest bid, but the other ones that were lower did not fill all the requirements, as I understand. It was, at least through it, I don't have here, but if anybody read that, that was basically it. It was very justifiable. And it's to the tune of $1.374 million and $50. Any questions?
Which I believe is lower than we expected.
Yeah, if I could, it's substantially lower. In fact, it's one of the first times in government I've seen it come in almost a third of our projected costs. We saved millions of this on the total project. So, obviously we had a question, well, why? What ended up happening is because of all the New York State Connect All money that's come out there, almost $600 million for projects across the state. It looks like the vendors procured a lot of these cables in preparation for it, to the point where now there's too large of a supply, and so it actually came down. They had to be very competitive in their pricing. So the profit margin for those companies seems to be a little lower than they probably originally were expected. but we ended up really doing well on this. And it helps because in this broadband project, which I think I'll give an update a little more when it gets my opportunity here, but we are seeing other things are not necessarily coming in cheaper. And so this is actually a huge deal for us to make sure that we don't end up having to have additional funds at the end of the project or serve less people, which is a very difficult option as well. So no, this is excellent. This is encouraging for us. And the permit that they chose, and again, if I could, this is reviewed by our ECC, which is a company we hired to be our engineers. They're the ones who designed the entire network and overseeing this. They're the experts in the field, and they're very comfortable with this.
Hey, thanks for that, Tim. I know a lot of the ARPA funds were designed to target this project. How much of the ARPA funds were used toward fiber optic?
So $4 million in ARPA funds were set aside towards this project.
Seems like
That was the entirety of what we needed. So this was about a $28.5 million project. The state is paying $24.5 million. The difference is the $4 from ARPA. So outside of our ARPA funds at this point, and again, our budget, we stay out every week. We actually meet with New York State every single Wednesday afternoon. It's where do we stand? Where does our budget stand? Where does our build out stand? And as of right now, we believe we're going to come in at least at budget, potentially lower.
wow. How many linear miles will this cover?
Oh, shoot. Phil, do you have that in front of you? I don't have that off the top of my head. It's yeah, I think it's
Well, the homes are better, the resident numbers.
yeah. We're going to serve at least 12,000 homes. I'll get that information. I have it right down on my desk. I just don't have it off the top of my head. I don't want to make it. It's hundreds of miles, but I don't have the exact numbers. But I'll get it to you.
The 12,000 are unserved or underserved. Right? Correct?
Well, so the money we get is based on the unserved and underserved, and we're going to be hitting about 13,000 unserved. Or yeah, 1,300. I'm sorry, 1,300 unserved. But every house that goes by is also available to be used for this program, and there's about 13,000 total homes that we expect to go by. And as a quick reminder to the community, when they go by your homes, what they have found in other communities is that as soon as they come in, Spectrum is forced to drop their pricing almost 50%. So because now there's a competitor that offers substantially faster broadband internet access. So what they're finding is on average, folks are paying somewhere around $39 to $45 for the highest speed cable you can get. It's really pretty incredible.
Really? Will it continue to expand throughout the county?
Yeah, so what we've done is we've contracted with Empire. They're essentially an ISP that serves this across the state. They work in a couple other counties as well. They've committed to build out additionally off of our network. The thought is it's too expensive for them to run all the way from, say, Onondaga County up to Pulaski. But if we are running, to Redfield or to Richland or some of these other areas, it's a lot shorter for them to then run off of that to serve these communities. So if they can make money with a lighter density than they would have to otherwise. And so the goal is going to be for them to build out pretty much every one of our villages, the 2 cities, and then start to build off of that. Anywhere where it makes sense for them, they make money.
Absolutely.
So anywhere they can make money off of it, they're going to build out.
And fiber optic, if there's a cut, it doesn't backfeed, like it doesn't cut people off behind the interruption, correct?
It would if it was the only line. The way they work is there's 128 lines in each bundle. And in addition to that, they have a duplication where they kind of serve in circles, so to speak, so that when it cuts here, there's a redundancy that still continues the service. It could potentially, I guess if it severed something came through and severed the entire bundle at multiple locations, you potentially see a short term, but it's set up in a way with the redundancy, so that shouldn't happen.
Much more efficient.
And we as a county are not responsible for that maintenance. That will be the responsibility of Empire.
Thank you.
Kind of reminds me of a good old physics lesson if it's a parallel circuit and not a series circuit. So you've got some backups. Yes, I know the good science teacher. Science for something, guys, sorry. Okay, then let's, is there any other questions regarding the bid? We need to vote on the bid.
Yeah.
Yes, all those in favor? Opposed? Carries. Okay, let's get into the good stuff. Reporting departments, Operation Oswego County update.
Sure, several for you today. So we actually we have so much activity going on at the IDA right now, we had to schedule a special meeting that's going to be on Thursday of this week, on the 7th. We have 2 projects that are looking at initial resolutions. Initial resolution means pretty much primarily stating that the project is eligible for IDA benefits. It's not calculating it. That's done at the second meeting, the approving resolution meeting. But we have the Fulton Chocolate Works project, which is in the city of Fulton on the former Nestle site, corner of Fay and South 7th. That's going to be coming to the IDA on Thursday. And then we also have Selkirk Lighthouse and Marina that's building a boutique hotel project in the town of Richland. That's also going to be at the IDA on Thursday. So both of those are to determine if the project is eligible and to schedule a public hearing in the community that they're taking place. If that goes forward, then there would be a meeting later this month, our regularly scheduled August meeting to look at level of benefits for either of those projects. Also going on, the Village of Pulaski DRI is we're sort of in the middle of that process right now. We just, in July, there was a call for projects. Now the local planning commission is looking through those projects, also looking at the final boundary and determining if we want to change that at all. As of right now, there's over $20 million of requests, and there's only $10 million of funding. So it's one of these where we're going to have to make some hard decisions about projects, but that's a good thing to have. We can kind of make, it can be as competitive as possible. They're also developing a small project fund that could be up to $600,000. They don't necessarily have to lock those projects in right now. That can kind of come later, but it's more to show that there's enough demand for that. Building off of that, the state will be, we just had the deadline last week on the 31st for the CFA, which is the Consolidated Funding Applications through Empire State Development. Very soon they will be announcing the new DRI and New York Forward round. So we've been very successful in Oswego County. I think of all of the counties in central New York, we've had the most DRI and New York Forward winners. So we're going to try to keep that momentum going and try to assist another community. So if you have a community that you think is ready, please let us know so we can help them prepare before that deadline. Other things I wanted to hit is that we have a manufacturing summit. We did this last year. It was a very successful event. We're bringing it back for October 15th. October is manufacturing month. I remember last year during October, the legislature actually had a, it wasn't a resolution. I can't remember what it was called. Proclamation, yes. And so we're actually going to be having this, our manufacturing summit on October 15th. It's going to be at Cuba Community College's Event Center space down in the city of Fulton. And then also happening in October, Semicon West. I'll be attending that with a team from Oswego County. That's from October 7th to 9th. And we went last year. We're going to have I think, an even better presence this year. We go along with the Empire State Development and other entities from New York State for that event. Made some great connections with companies as well as other partners around the state for helping getting projects. So with everything going on with the industrial park expansion right now, it's a great time for us to be there and promoting our assets that are just 8 miles down the road from where Micron's building. And I don't know if everyone saw, but just yesterday, Micron announced their general contractor that's going to be building that project. So things are moving along there. The environmental impact statement, some of it is due on August 11th. So if there isn't any comments for or against it, has to be in for that. For most parts of it, I believe New York State DEC has until September for their comments. So lots going on right now, lots of projects, but yeah, it's an exciting time in economic development.
Anybody? Great.
Yes.
Thank you for all that.
Mhm.
Are we doing anything to expand or build a wastewater treatment plant? Are we doing anything at the Miller site?
Yeah, so at the Miller site in particular, I think it's a little too early to say what could be happening related to wastewater there. I think you need to have a large anchor tenant to be able to use that. That potentially could happen. But I know that Mark Bombardo, Tim, and others are working hard on the infrastructure side to determine where the infrastructure is needed. We have several wastewater plants around Oswego County that have these sort of consent decree issues, so that it limits their ability to put more in. And then we also have plants that are under capacity, so, including Minetto. So, I think, before we look at necessarily building out a plant, it's maybe utilizing better some of the capacity that we have.
Well, I think right now you could get money to get out of consent decree based on sitting on the edge of 2% of the Earth's fresh water and to protect it.
I know that
Cornell has done multiple effluent discharge studies that I feel should be taken advantage of.
And it's not, I will say that, I understand the companies that need to put in. I don't necessarily understand on the waste side and how they treat it and deal with that. I know Mark knows a lot more on that than I do, but I think that, you know, there are several sort of wastewater initiatives going on right now, and a lot of them are looking at utilizing some of the underutilized wastewater plants that are there. I know City of Fulton's plant, the Soakers project. I know that, you know, Minetto and some other ones.
Just
So
needs to pump it from way far away.
yeah.
It would be more cost efficient to have a plant more nearby than have a million lift
Yeah.
stations and a ton of pipe.
I think the other thing, and like I said, it's not my baby, so I wouldn't want to talk too much about it, but I know that especially with Oneida Lake, DEC is trying to find ways to get effluent out of Oneida Lake, so any proposals that will help to do that, I think they'd be supportive of. And I think that they've already kind of shown that they are supportive of those models. So I agree. I think that there's some, you know, you have a lot of cost when you put in a trunk line, but you also have a lot of cost when you put in multiple plants that you then have to operate and have operators for. And, you know, so I think that part of their model is looking at, you know, what would the cost of doing 5 little plants be versus the cost of just putting into the City of Fulton plant that is already underutilized, and you don't then have to add extra operators and everything else. So like I said, it's not I don't know all of the facts on that one, but I'm very supportive of that project. I think that would be a great project for serving southern Oswego County as well as some of the eastern end.
Well, the IDA was urgent at the time to acquire the wastewater treatment plant at the Miller site.
Yep.
And it's my understanding that it's in rough shape right now.
It's rough shape is a kind word.
That's a sad situation though,
Yep.
and I just.
It was a plant that at the time, it's really more about the strongest asset that has related to wastewater is just the fact that it has the outflow to the river. Every single thing at that plant would have to be replaced. Every single thing. And back pre-COVID, the numbers to do that was $28 million. So post-COVID, we're talking big dollars.
And also, just to add on to that, we're currently we're looking at all the assets throughout the whole county, from top stem to stern, east to west, everything. Kind of look at what's the best way to plan out a regional sewer system. So, and it's in its beginning stages. So we have some ideas, and in my report, I'll talk about some of those also.
Thank you.
Right.
Again, thank you. It was a great report. But I have questions about the chocolate. You said something.
Chocolate Works, the housing project. Yep.
All right, so that's a housing project.
Correct. Yep.
Okay, so you're calling it Fulton Chocolate Works.
Yes, it's the 48-unit affordable housing project at the corner of Bay and South 7th. Yep.
Okay. Question I have is, because you transferred from out back to the front, and then
The musical chairs, yes.
quite a little hopscotch. Do you own all the way out to the middle of the road, to the road, or what? Do you remember what that was? What the deal was on that?
The piece of property that the IDA owns?
Well, because you're giving it to,
The city of Fulton. We're giving our property, well, we've already done it, giving our property back to the city of Fulton. So that the city of Fulton would take that piece of property on the corner for CDM.
okay, so
Yep.
CDM doesn't own it, or?
CDM owns the piece of property on the corner of Fay and South 7th.
Okay, how much you had it originally, so is it all the way out to, no, I've got to know if it's the road.
I don't, I would have to see the survey on that. I can get back to you on that, though.
It's, I need to know that because there's things that are going on that say that they're going to do sidewalks,
Oh,
and sorry, I can't see putting sidewalks on somebody else's piece of property. It's city taxpayer money, we could use it throughout the city somewhere else. So let me know if you.
Yep, I will.
Thank you.
Any other
Good
questions?
report.
I just want to add one more thing, Frank. I don't know if you're going to go to the Common Council meeting tonight, but you should
You
go.
know I will be.
All right.
It's never a doubt, right?
That's right.
Okay, Next one, let's go right into workforce development. Rachel?
All right, I have a lot of updates. So starting today is the City Manufacturing Automation Lab program that's going on the next 4 weeks that we're partnering on. There are 30 participants in the program. They are getting resume interview help and also their work keys assessments to earn their national career readiness credential through my team, and then also getting a manufacturing certificate over the next 4 weeks, and all culminating with a job fair with local manufacturers. So hopefully getting some new employment out of that program, and it is free for students. Next Monday, we have our first Swiggle Pathways to Apprenticeship cohort starting. We have 13 candidates that were chosen out of about 22 applications to participate in that paid training program. That will go until about mid-November, and they will get their MC3 curriculum certification, which is endorsed by the union trades. We have various union representatives teaching throughout the program. And our actual build project, we worked with Youth Bureau, and we're going to build an 8x10 shed at Camp Hollis that they were working on. So that is coming right out of our grant budget to do that for Camp Hollis as well. Other programs have built like walls that then just get torn down. Like, no, we're going to build something useful. So I talked to Brian, and that was what they were needing. So that program is finally starting. We also have been working with MACNY and bringing their Advanced to Apprenticeship program starting September in partnership with Cuba Community College. It's just like the Real Life Rosie program we did last year, so manufacturing and getting a pre-apprenticeship training and then connecting with local manufacturers for employment. But this program, instead of focusing on recruiting women, it focuses on recruiting individuals with disability that are able to work full-time. Anyone's welcome to the program. We're going to start recruiting soon, but there is a focus on individuals with disabilities. So we have from our staff our disability resource coordinators going to be working with that program. And update, because we just finished our WIOA program here on June 30th. We did reach our 80% obligations of all of our adult dislocated worker and youth funding streams. So we are moving forward with our new program year 25 and have gotten our allocations with that. So starting back over with lots of funding for individuals for training. I have brought on a new employment specialist that is focusing more of marketing, communications, and outreach, specifically for work keys and getting that more out in the community, not only for job seekers, but working with businesses and how are we selling it to businesses for them to use it more. We also have a SUNY Oswego intern starting in a couple weeks. It's going to be working with him on that. And my final update is our Energy Foundations training, which is career exploration, looking at wind, solar, electrical grid, nuclear, all the different aspects of energy. So it is a free curriculum that we're going to be offering to individuals, and if they complete weekly assessments, when they then come in for a weekly training, they're going to have stipends that they can earn. But we're doing this in partnership with Constellation and National Grid. People at the end will not qualify to specifically be hired, but what we're looking at is after the career exploration piece is connecting them with CCC, OCC, BOCES, or some other training. If there's a stackable credential that's available through the Center for Energy Workforce Development that's online, something to then get them started to then get into the energy industry. And the ultimate plan is to combine this energy fundamentals with a Oswego build and the trades unions, because we've got Constellation National Grid partnering on both, so that we can then become the experts in the trades and energy and bring it all together and move forward with that. So lots happening.
It's so rewarding to hear all of the stuff that we're doing for the trades, because more and more with the AI coming in, people that are tech savvy are going to be replaced by AI. So the trades AI is not going to replace. So we need to have people in the trades desperately and understand that that's where they need to be trained. So we've got the funds, we've got the ability. I think it's great what we're doing in Oswego County.
There's a lot of opportunity for funds right now too. I'm both a little inundated right now.
That's not a bad thing to have, I guess.
Not a bad thing, but there's only so many hours today.
I did have a letter that, I'm not going to read the whole letter, but it goes along with the City Manufacturing and Automation Lab, is that it came from Brian Heffron, just giving his sincerest appreciation for our support. He said that it was delayed getting done because of the architectural things that delayed it a little bit, but now it's up and going, and as you said, it's very exciting, but they are very, very appreciative of all the things you're going to be able to do. So I did want to share that he has it. If you want to read the whole letter, I have it right here for you. Okay, next, Promotion and Tourism Department.
We started a Tunes for Tuesday Facebook post. It goes up on Tuesday. It has been well received with 6,000 views. We've received wonderful feedback from the community event organizers who are thankful for the promotion. With Facebook, we posted the Harborfest schedules, Dirt Week, and Paddle Fest. We have an article currently running in Lancaster, PA on salmon fishing and about Oswego County. The article is exceeding expectations with almost 500,000 views. We tabled the SUNY Oswego Open House with 500 registered families, and also tabled the Real Leaf Conference and Brightback Park down at Harborfest, as well as the Cha-Cha Truck event in Hannibal. Oswego, you're welcome. Oswego County was featured in Central New York's Your Town segment from July 21st to 25th. Commercials featured Brewerton, Pulaski, Mexico, and Oswego Town, currently airing. During the week, the news team visited iSouth, Brewerton Speedway, Mimi's, and Western Pier Lighthouse. Staff is also working the visitor center downtown. It's picking up a little bit because of the summer, people traveling in town. On August 16th, Oswego Speedway will have Oswego County Tourism Night. The 350 Supermodifieds are sponsored by Oswego County all season with billboards and signage throughout the Speedway. And this month, tourism staff will be in Fulton Speedway at the Summer Pass Series on August 20th, and Balloons Under the Moon in Granby on August 21st. Staff members will also be in Nicebu for New York State Fair.
Excellent. I see the billboards up for Oswego County tourism in Oswego County. Do we have them outside the county?
Yeah. In Weedsport, just north of Pulaski, and in between Watertown, Pulaski, and I can't remember the last place, but it's in between Turnstone and the Oswego exit on Thruway, coming into Oswego.
Coming into Oswego. Okay, because I was like, when I see them inside Oswego, I'm like, should we be advertising this out to bring people in?
Yeah.
So I'm glad to see that we have some of the people coming in, they see that.
Mhm.
Catch them before they come in.
Yeah.
Any other comments or questions for Dan? Jim?
I want to give a quick update on some public information. I know typically a lot of times that office doesn't necessarily get updates in this group meeting, but I wanted to, especially in light of some of the things that have been happening and some of the information that the county has to get out to our residents, I also want to mention our public information office. I think everyone has probably looked up at the sun the last couple nights and saw the haziness that we're dealing with here locally. We have had to cancel some of our local programming for the kids out at Legends Field, at the camps as well. Because obviously it was unhealthy for children is essentially what was said. So we had to kind of quickly get that information out. So I really wanted to highlight my public information office. They do a great job. That's Savannah and Kelly. So just want to give them a little bit of credit. They've been doing a great job, especially we've had a lot of EEE and other things like that. That's all information that they work with the health department on to get out quickly. And so everybody is knowledgeable and able to react.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, let's move right into planning and community development.
It's okay, I'm going to kick over to Mark to start with
I was
that.
going to have Mark as part of yours,
Yep.
yeah. So, Mark, you want to start it off then?
Oh, thank you. I'm happy to follow all that positive information. There's some more positive, I believe.
All right.
The current sewer and infrastructure project update. The Phoenix Oswego County IDA Schuylkill project. This project represents a strong example of multi-layered cooperation among the county, the IDA, the Village of Phoenix, and the Town of Schuylkill. An engineering agreement for the system upgrades has been already approved by the village. The attorneys are currently working on to update the intermunicipal agreement to reflect the additional funding contributions from the IDA and the village. The IMA is necessary for the project to proceed to the next phase. The Volney Sewer Extension. This project will provide a public sewer connection to two key areas: the Bristol Hill landfill and a planned large-scale residential development. Grants being pursued are the CDBG, Pro Housing, and the WIA grant. As part of the CDBG grant, NEPA compliance was required. NEPA is a federal equivalent to the seeker. This was successfully completed thanks to the significant collaboration led by Bartonville Udis Engineering and G&G Municipal Consulting and Grant Writing. The Solcris project, a major regional initiative with significant funding potential. Empire State Development and WQIP grant applications have been submitted with a potential award amount of up to $50 million. Combine that with the EFC grant that was submitted last month, the total potential grant funding now stands at $80 million. Preparations underway. I wrote this too. Preparation is underway for the IMA grant application, which requires an intermunicipal agreement with a participating municipality. Town of Constantia has been identified as the ideal partner because only one IMA is required. Constantia sits at the beginning of the Solcris line. They already have a formed and designed sewer district. We aim to present a proposed IMA with Constantia at this next month's meeting. Village of Parish, they're under DEC consent order that Marie was talking about. The village is under a consent order from the DEC for needed operational upgrades to their plant. The village has secured a $2.5 million grant but requires the county support to access the funds. In return, the village is willing to enter into an IMA that will allow for the transfer of their sewer infrastructure, including the plant, to the county upon request. The key benefits: the plant is structurally sound and already sited in a strategic location for future expansion of the Oswego County Sewer District. It eliminates the challenging of siting a new facility, often hindered by the public opposition, not in my backyard. Strengthens the relationship between the county, the village, and the DEC, who specifically requested the county's involvement. And an IMA for this partnership is expected to be presented for consideration in next month's meeting also.
So, big steps.
Yep.
Getting in that.
And also just to touch on, we are looking long-term. The district hasn't been formed. We haven't done our first project, but we're looking multiple years down the road. So we are looking at putting a plan together with gathering all the possible assets out there, whether it's privately owned, county-owned, or municipal. A lot of your local municipalities, the small ones, are getting overwhelmed by their systems, and they're looking to turn them over. So this is a great potential for the county to start a regional district in operation, and we won't need the IMAs in the future.
Okay. It's all great news. I mean, we're moving towards this whole thing, and getting them to go under the county makes it so much easier because we could share a lot of things too.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it makes it a lot easier. Any other questions for Mark? Comments? Oh, I'm sorry, Ed?
Yeah, I foresee concern about general county funding outside of a specific district that's paying for these projects? It's going to be a tough sell to ask Enfield to fund sewer, county-owned sewer plant in Parish, New York. What's your opinion on that?
Well, the intention here is to only charge individuals that are being benefited by the district. We're not looking for outside funding at this point. I don't see it necessary. If everything goes well with our first project, that has the potential to be fully funded. Okay, the Socris line, which is a lot cheaper and more environmentally friendly than building multiple sewer plants. The other nice part about a county sewer district, once formed, it doesn't have to be contiguous. So if the village of Parish has a problem, I know there's issues up in Sandy Pond, the county can form a district up there, which would be part of the southern district, and we could work on projects up there. But that, again, it's the district individuals that should be paying for all this.
Thank you.
Thank you for the information. Question, do you know, you're in the business, who actually did the Fairhaven project, which is fantastic? It went really smooth. They all have the
Individual grinder pumps?
individual grinder pumps at every residence, and that way it can be accessed, troubleshot, the whole nine. Just wondered who laid that out, who engineered it, and that was a tricky deal.
I'm not familiar with that project, but I come from the town of Hastings, and we've put in almost 1,000 of those individual grinder pumps and formed about 7 districts, built a sewer plant. That is the way to go.
It is. I bet there's a lot more than 1,000 on Fairhaven Day.
Yeah, they could have more than 1,000, but
Oh,
in
yeah.
Hastings, we got about 1,000. So it's not new to the game as that's concerned. And that's probably the direction we're gonna go, is the low pressure systems.
I just wondered who
C2AE.
designed it and everything. I'm gonna ask.
Okay.
I think it was C2AE who did that project.
Who?
C2AE, I believe. There's been several projects there, Sterling and Fairhaven, and they've done a bunch of them in the last 10 years, so I don't know specifically, but that was just a quick Google search,
Yeah.
C2AE.
Okay. But I mean, it just was so
Google could be wrong.
brilliantly done, clean, fast job. I thought it was great.
And we've been fortunate, all the projects we've ever done has gone, it's come in under budget. It's been done without any hiccups or problems. One of the biggest things I'm proud of, we also got public water at every house in the town of Hastings.
So do they in Fairhaven.
And I don't know how many easements we had to obtain to do that, but we never paid for one.
Good. Get a good negotiator.
Thank you.
It's always nice to replicate a good plan. Why change things in the middle of the stream when you got something good going? Yeah. Excellent. Anybody else have any questions? Nope. Tim?
Okay, I got a couple. I wanted to give a quick update on broadband. We touched on it a little bit earlier, but just as a reminder, the entire project, the entirety of the $30 million needs to be spent completely by December 31st, 2026. That's required for the grant funding. So we are moving very, very actively, very, very quickly on this project. I don't think I mentioned it in this committee, but in order to take these steps to put cables on the poles to get to all these homes, these 13,000 homes, there are 10,000 plus poles that you need to put these wires on. And for each of these poles, you need to get permission to put them on the pole. You have to individually verify the integrity. The pole can handle another piece of cable on it. And so it is an incredibly intensive job to do all that. We're moving through that very quickly. It's also owned by 4 different telecom companies. So you have to figure out who owns it, and then you have to apply for that specific serial numbered pole. We are moving pretty quickly through. We're about halfway through that process. We knew that was going to be the heaviest lift of this entire project. Once we get permission, we can then move forward. So quick update on that. The other really exciting information that we literally this Friday got was we finally got our GDA, our Grant Disbursement Agreement. You have to open the book. Grant Disbursement Agreement. And it is...
All of a sudden I'm looking at that's all that. Okay.
So we did on Friday get our, from New York State, our grant disbursement agreement. That's huge because until we come to agreement under the GDA, we cannot request reimbursement towards the money we've been spending. So this is a huge, very exciting opportunity to get this done. Our attorneys are reviewing it. We expect to have that finalized probably by the end of the week or the next 2 weeks. And then we can start asking for reimbursement. We've got it set up in a way where we spend $6 to $7 million. We attempt to receive $6 to $7 million back. And that way, we're never taking on the full $30 million in bond anticipation or anything like that.
At the bonding council in my office had a call with fiscal advisors, and we believe that it is not a qualifying public use, so it'll be taxable bans as opposed to tax exempt because it's over the 5% threshold. On it'll be many private residences that benefit from this. And many IPOs, it will not be predominantly the government or the county that will be utilizing the fiber, obviously. So the bonds, or bond anticipation notes will be taxable, but it's bridge financing, so it should not be out there that long. It's the grant is paid in arrears. We spend the money, use the band proceeds to finance the project, and then get reimbursed from the state.
So thankfully, we shouldn't have to float a lot of money in between. That's the answer there. And then so I've had a lot of questions asking about when do we expect to see this, right? When's the first house get their internet? We expect it by probably between May and July of next year. The first one will go live. The plan is not to wait till the entire network is complete to turn everything on. They will turn it on as they go through. So as they complete a stretch of it, that group will be turned on.
Well, that'll build the excitement.
It will.
Yeah.
So that's your broadband. Any questions on broadband? Okay. I want to give quick grant updates internally to the county. As you know, we have contracted with both G&G Consulting and Barton & Judas Consulting to do a ton of our grant work. Mark touched on it quite a bit, but we have been leaning on Barton & Judas heavy for the entirety of these infrastructure projects. They are the experts in the field. They have really assisted our grant writers in the very technical pieces to make sure that our grant applications are as strong as they can be. So I want to thank both G&G and B&L for the assistance with that.
Also, just to add to that, all these projects are tied together. So using one engineering firm to do everything, they're tying everything together, so it's a stronger application.
And exciting in that is that these are all intermunicipal projects. And so historically, I had heard, even before I was a legislator, had heard concerns that maybe the towns and villages didn't know what the county was doing and vice versa, and maybe there wasn't that shared future planning. And I want to say that, there's over probably 12 municipalities between all the projects that Mark talked about that are on board with this. And that's really exciting to see, our taxpayers being served by all their levels of government in a cohesive way that makes sure that we are saving money where it makes sense and that our planning works together to some common outcome.
Tearing down all the individual silos. It's nice to be able to communicate all of
Yeah, and I'll say I think it's a lot of work from the leadership in this county, from the elected leaders. Also, the big projects are coming along. People see Micron coming, they see all these exciting, and they say, we want to be ready, we want to be planning for this. And so they're coming to the table. I had a meeting last week with the new district superintendent for City BOCES. And the thought is, how do we loop in our school districts a little better to what's going on in this county? So again, I think we're all really starting to sit down and talk about the plan. A couple just quick other things there.
Before you,
Yeah, sorry.
the funding for B&L, where's that coming from? And do you have a budget amount?
Phil, if you want to.
where's the funding coming from?
For B&L study?
For the grant writing.
The grant writing, it's the economic development fund.
I didn't hear that.
Economic development fund, our efficiencies fund.
Do we know how much?
No, I can look it up for you. No.
How much the contracts are, or how much is in the fund?
Contract.
Yeah, I mean, it's based on the total project that we're working on. So, Mark, I don't know if you have that top of your head, but
And the other nice part of this is when these projects are funded, this is all reimbursable. So it's an outlay to gather more money, and so we can do the projects and bring it back. We have a couple of agreements with Barton & Judas for grant writing and for the Socus project. Socus was $30,000.
Yeah. Yeah, our grant writing services are, the development of efficiency fund. We awarded two. We have a grant writer on retainer that works with all the departments, and then we also awarded a contract to B&L to do specialized with the same outcomes out of that. So I can look up the contract storage of that.
Right. Thank you for this. This is probably the most important and very late to the table project that could occur in Oswego County.
Yes. It's transformational and it puts us in the 22nd century.
You can't expand without it, period.
No, you're right.
And all these local municipalities are getting consent orders. They can't keep up with their things. And the DEC is going nuts because they can't shut down a little village.
You can't spew waste in the
And you
fresh
can't
water.
do waste and nobody has a reasonable solution because financially they can't.
Look what happened in Tampa. It was unprecedented. They had a huge pool of waste that expanded exponentially. They had an amount of heavy rain, and they took an amount into Tampa Bay that they said it'll take 15 years to try to rebalance the ecosystem. It wiped the fishing out. It was a disaster. All the corals dead. It was all human waste that entered Tampa Bay. And I mean, things like that just simply can't be allowed. And so thank you, because this is so desperately needed.
And we've created a great relationship with the DEC because they like to see this.
Yeah.
And they are greatly pushing this behind the scenes to try to make this happen. So we have a lot of partners out there working with us.
Well, and I also think that, and it's been underlooked at, but I've tried to talk to Dr. Halquist at the college, who's brilliant about fresh water producing and keeping it. And wetlands near the Great Lakes actually are loaded with hydric soils and cattails and things like that, actually scrub the water before it re-enters. I had no idea about that. But it is a very interesting ecosystem, and it's critical that we keep it intact. I think it'll be worth more a barrel than oil before it's over with.
Water, we do not make new water. The
No.
water you're drinking today is the water the dinosaurs drank. Yep. Same stuff.
So, so the infrastructure piece is obviously crucial for environmental purposes, but also for development and for expansion, specifically housing and other, and so one of the things I did want to mention, and I think Mark touched on it, was that project in Bolney that we're working on specifically is linked to the creation of a single-family housing development, essentially somewhere between 50 and 60 new single-family market-rate homes will be built if we can connect that sewer. So we're starting to see the developers who are saying, all right, I'm willing to invest if you're willing to invest. And so we're working directly with those developers to say, this is our plan, how does it work with you to really try and see that come through. Last thing I wanted to mention was the ARPA funds. Again, those need to be spent completely by the end of next year. We are in the process of closing out the majority of them on the strategic initiatives, file my offices. And I believe Betsy should have sent out to the entire legislature, maybe yesterday if you saw it, the ARPA update spreadsheet showing all of our external ARPA projects where they stand. So if you haven't seen that in your email, or if you want a physical copy, let me know.
Okay. Any questions for Tim? Okay, hearing none, let's go right into mobility management.
Good morning. So this first one right here is a collaboration with the Office for the Aging. So their flyers on one side. This is a good example of us working together. We put our transportation piece on the other half of it. So that when these went out to all the senior facilities and to all the seniors in the community, they saw the picnic information on one side, and then they had a transportation option if they turned it over. So we have roughly 50 seniors signed up to receive transportation to the picnic and back through the Access program. And so this is just a way of us bringing all those resources together with different departments to make the senior picnic happen. Registration closes tomorrow, so if you know anybody that wants to sign up for transit, let us know. Best. So we are not the transportation provider typically for HarborFest, D-Bus is. However, HarborFest reached out to us this year because D-Bus doesn't have wheelchair accessible buses. So people attending HarborFest, there was not really an accessible transportation option. So we provided just one bus from their accessible lot, which is in the Romney parking lot at SUNY to Brightbeck Park and back. So the bus just went there and back all throughout HarborFest. And so they were able to transport 1,310 people just with that one bus. So HarborFest did reach out to us and said we want to collaborate a little bit more next year. So we work closely with tourism as well with that project. They do a lot of promotion with the flyers for us.
It's good getting a lot of the locals and others to use the bus. And I think that's huge, that you're getting them to use the bus and understand all the assets that we have for that.
And this is funded through HarborFest. HarborFest paid for the bus, so they use their sponsorships to cover the cost of the transit for the bus.
Sure.
Yes, they should. Farmers market, so we launched our 4th year of farmers market transportation. Wildly, Pulaski is popping on, which is great because they've had slow ridership the first couple years, and so we love to see that their ridership is increasing in Pulaski, which is amazing. We saw a little dip in week 2, which is HarborFest. This is because we offered a separate bus to HarborFest. People were using our farmers market bus to get to the Oswego downtown area. And then they were taking their wheelchairs from there to HarborFest because they could not get there accessibly. So now that we have that separate bus, it did drop a little bit, but it's trending upwards. We're trending in the right direction to have higher ridership than we did last year. So that's been extremely successful, and we're super excited. This is a part of our fixed route contract, so that's funded as public transit operations. 'Tis the season, so we have state fair transportation coming back. So unfortunately, Centro is not able to provide this service from our county, so we have gotten approval from New York State DOT to step in and help provide some services. We did slightly expand this, so last year we were only able to provide service on one weekend. This year, because we have enough drivers and our new buses arrived, we're able to provide 2 buses for the Fulton location on both weekends, 2 buses for the Oswego location on both weekends, and 1 large bus for the Central Square Phoenix run. That one had a little bit lower ridership, which is why we're only doing one weekend. If we can push that a little bit, I think we should expand that one next year also. Last year we had over 500 riders, so it was a good launch year for this. We expect more. We can transport about 70 people on each run from each location. So it gives you a good idea of the seating available for that. No registration required. They show up. My staff will be at all 3 locations just to help guide people onto the bus and just support people in traffic to make sure that they're being nice to each other and not pushing or shoving to get on the bus. One thing that we've been really wanting to do is be able to receive feedback on our buses from riders and feedback in general. So we've purchased, there's not a lot of great space inside the buses, and so we purchased essentially like hard 5x7 plastic containers that can be stuck on the sides of the buses. So all throughout when people look up, they can see and scan to be able to leave a review. So we have a typical one for general services and then one that we want to use for seasonal services that's a little bit more spunky. They could be interchanged pretty easily, but they're printed on a thick cardstock so that they're durable. But this feedback goes directly to a form that will come directly to our department. So what we're going to do is take all of this feedback that we receive every quarter and attach it to the quarterly audits that we do with the vendor. We audit our public transit vendor every quarter. We ride the bus anonymously. We talk to riders. So this is just another way that we'll take all that quarterly feedback from riders. It will be attached to that report now so that we can actually have some compliance and some performance standards for public transit.
I remember when I first started with the Transportation Committee, they did this, it was just a hard copy that maybe people would do or not. This, once again, we're getting right up to how we should be. It's, the data collection is fantastic.
We are probably 1 week away from giving you guys a draft of our new coordinated transportation plan. We've been working really diligently on this. We held a forum last year. We had about 65 will attend the transportation forum, and we've been gathering all the feedback from our TAC meetings, which roughly have about 45 to 50 people attend each session.
Yeah.
So all of that feedback is being put into the coordinated plan, which is an FTA requirement for our funding. Unfortunately, I don't believe the last plan was adopted. So we are pushing this through so that you guys have that to review. The fixed route bid is very exciting. So we should be bidding out our fixed route hopefully later this month at the latest September. This is a 3-year contract we have 5 fixed routes. I'm going to recommend we bid out 4. An additional route, that's a lot of duplication of services, and we can go more into that when I send you guys the draft proposal. But my goal is to bring that contract down from 1.7 million annually to 1 million annually. And you guys are probably wondering how we're going to do that. Well, Tim and I have been working very, very, very hard. We have 4 interested parties. 3 of them actually have rural transportation experience. So we expect a very competitive process this time around.
Excellent.
So we're looking forward to that.
And to be clear, if I could, we have not had more than one respondent in decades with this RFP. So,
Yep.
So a couple of them are local, one of them is a national provider, so we'll see what happens.
That's very exciting to see if you get that, because that's been a real contention. So,
If anything, competition is always very healthy in the bidding world.
yes. Excellent.
I do want to say that we have an intern with Rachel's program. The intern is 15 years old. He's been doing wonderful, is putting together informational packets that we've been mailing out to different organizations to tell them about transportation, what we do, how they can get help. So thank you for that. That's been wonderful. And then lastly, I just want to mention, we are currently working on a collaboration with tourism as well as SUNY Oswego with their student admitted days as well as their what is it? What is that called?
It's like their open house.
Yeah.
Open house. Thank you. So tourism has a table that they typically do at their open house. And so they had this great idea of, well, can we do tours around downtown, locally in the area that are no longer than 30 minutes where people can hop on one of the branded buses that we have. We have somebody from the tourism team, Kelly, that has experience doing tours, and we have an intercom system on the buses. So having folks jump on and off and be able to have a little tour and then be able to come back so that we can highlight some areas of the county while also they have a lot of parents that come by talking about fishing.
Yeah.
So I think it'll be great to say, hey, hop on the bus, go downtown to the visitor center, here's some tourism pamphlets that you guys can take with you.
It's good to open up their brains, instead of having the tunnel vision of living on campus and the city, giving them a visitor guide, to say, here's what we have to offer. So, and, take a ride up to Salmon River Falls, stuff like that. And we do have a lot of dads that inquire about fishing, so.
It's just good to see, Office for the Aging and tourism, we're all starting to work together and say, hey, we can do this. We have the resources. We just need to brainstorm a little bit. So it's different collaborations.
You're so right, though. It's tunnel vision when parents and students come to the college. It's like, okay, it's the college, and the kids, okay, it's the downtown, but that's it. And so this is great to open it up and see, wait a minute, there's a lot of other things out here.
Yeah.
Perfect.
I have one comment on the senior picnic. That is up in Williamstown at Camp Zerby.
Yes.
Everyone was concerned because they were having up there, they weren't going to have enough people attending. And I can tell you right now, it's filled to capacity. The busing is helping, obviously, but also there's a waiting list. So,
Awesome. It's really
kind of
good.
wild. And it's for this point out.
Nice. Frank.
As always, you really have transformed this. Excellent. Very good. I have a question about all this. I
Yes.
think were we able to get capability to get in there from the senior areas around Fulton, to be able to drive in there to drop off instead of dropping off out by the road?
So we've We have a service where we drop people off, our shop and shuttle, so that they can be dropped off there. Now, yeah, at the door. So they do have access to get groceries. Now, with that said, the sidewalk, Centro's bus, their fixed route bus drops off on the sidewalk, and there's a dip. So people that get off the ramp can get onto the sidewalk, but then there's just stairs from the sidewalk down. So if you're in a wheelchair, you have to travel all the way around the building past like where the Nestle factory is, and then you have to come into where the cars are exiting. So it's Aldi's property. It's not the city's property, it's Aldi's property. And so we've written letters to Aldi's corporate, and we have not heard anything back. We have Barclays office that has also helped support those letters, and Aldi's is not responsive at all. You know, it's just, frankly, it's not accessible. And so we're trying to kind of put Band-Aids on it by doing stuff like that. But really, there should be a ramp put in there.
That's my other question would be, you know, that's why I asked Austin where everybody owns too, because that was the big issue with Aldi's.
Yeah.
They own all the way out to the road, and, you know, we can't put a ramp in there because
It's not our property, yeah.
and it should have been in the planning stage when it went through the planning board of Fulton. It should have come out and said, you don't have the, you know, ADA accessible, then we're not gonna okay your plans. They got stairs, but
Yeah.
how's anybody in a wheelchair gonna get down the stairs? Or a walker,
It's dangerous.
you know, or the walker,
It's hard when you see somebody, and especially in the winter time, unfortunately, the sidewalks are not always cleaned off with the snow. And so if you do have somebody trying to, they're not going to be able to get to that.
Thank you very much for that.
Okay, any other questions? Jim?
Just want to give an update. 400 miles of the fiber optic cable is what is being installed in its field.
Got it. Okay, any other questions? Okay, Joe, soil and water.
Thank you. It's been a while since my last update, so I'll just catch up on some of our activities maybe from earlier this spring really quickly and then get into the more recent active projects. One thing that we've recently done is updated our website. So if you go to Oswego County soilandwater.org, you'll see that new site and some of the updated pages there. Earlier this spring, we had our tree and shrub sale. That was very successful with over 6,000 trees and shrubs and ground cover that went out the door for the public. Also, an additional with our Plant a Tree program that we partner with Cooperative Extension on, an additional 5,000 trees were actually given to use K through 6. And along with that goes some literature for the outreach and educational component as well. The Envirothon planning for the conservation field day, which actually has to start before school is let out. So that's in the works right now. That'll take place in September, and then the Envirothon was earlier in May. Several other outreach opportunities and that we've worked on or been present at. And we also have an individual staff member that works on the State Ferry Committee. That's for all conservation soil and water districts from across the state. So we will have some staff present down there on various days throughout the run of the state fair. Technical assistance, we've really, anything you can think of conservation related, but a lot of some shoreline protection assistance, flooding and drainage, permitting through New York State DEC and Army Corps. We're working on what some of them, can be, half an hour assist or something like that, or a conversation or a site visit, or it can be something that really we may be working on for the next 2 years, depending upon if, like for instance, we've been working with the town of Williamstown on a permit for a culvert replacement around the Casogue Lake area, and that's been over a couple of years. We're very, very close on that. Some of the New York State DEC regulations and restrictions have really increased. For example, they're the way things used to be may not really fly anymore. We're having to put into plans now, taking out if you do cause some sediment increase in some water, maybe adding a sediment, a curtain or something like that. pumping out water and things of that nature, coffer dams, a lot of additional measures that are taking a lot of extra time putting that in discussions and meetings and so forth. But it is possible to get them through in the end. So we have another town just reached out to us. That certainly takes up an immense amount of time. They're pretty intense drawings that you have to come up with, visits and initiating those conversations and continuing them to hopefully the fruition of getting the permit. Wetland delineation training, we put 3 staff members through that earlier just at the start of the summer. And we have not started working with the DEC yet, but will later this month start having some staff train with New York State DEC doing the delineations. We're probably at the very least a year out to be able to offer those to the public. I would say, I'd conservatively say, the start of maybe 2027 might be an estimate, but it could potentially happen next year. It just depends on when they are satisfied with how much work how many visits we've done with them and how comfortable we are and that sort of thing. But there are, it's essentially a lot more intense than simply saying, wet here, not here, let's put the line right through here. There's a lot of vegetation ID that, and hundreds and thousands of plants that are required, and not just the nice common name that's easy to write down, but the Latin name. So it's a pretty intense, process, but we are working on that and in the right direction for that. Something that Legislator Gilson is familiar with, the Plasky Drainage Project, something that we did get a grant of $30,000 for the village to hopefully solve a flooding issue on Route 5, or County Route 5, and we are pretty close to finishing that up. I think later this month we'll have that all wrapped up, but with that came several engineered designs for stormwater fixes, also a SWIP plan to implement the project, and then we're already starting to help the village and work with them a little bit, look for funds. As those open up, we'll hopefully down the road have implementation dollars for those, for that project. We were fortunate enough to get a forestry intern, at least a part-time one for this summer, and we've been working on forest management plans. By the end of the summer, we should have 6 of those done. I'm not sure off the top of my head the estimated acreage, probably upwards of more than 500 acres, I would assume. So that'll be a great success. Those plans help all of those individuals go into these federal and the state programs for anything from forestry work, of thinning regeneration work, and then getting trees planted as well. That's obviously a really big drive. 25 million trees by 2033. So all of these different state programs coming down the pipe, like Regenerate New York and so forth, we're kind of setting up folks to be able to take advantage of those. Also, Regenerate New York, it's a state program. We successfully put 2 landowners applications in and received approximately $25,000 for those landowners to do primarily regeneration work and some tree cutting and things like that to get new forest stands up and growing. The AEM program, or the Agricultural Environmental Management Program, obviously to help farmers primarily with best management practices, all water quality based, and we are in the planning process and hopefully implementation process later this fall for a large moderate sized manure storage project, which to us is a large project, and we also put in for funding for the next 3 years, which opens us up for several $100,000 for technical assistance funds over those 3 years, as well as $300,000 of implementation funds. So those will be obviously spent from starting, or at least planned and hopefully spent over the next 3 years, starting next year. Our invasive species programs, quite successful this year. Giant hogweed, we have had in the past upwards of 70 to 80 sites, and we're down to around 50 that we had to visit this year. There are a few that have maybe fallen off as far as contact with landowners, people move or sell properties and such. so we have around 50 sites that we visited, and fortunately only 20 of those needed control. So we really have worked that down to a pretty controllable amount of sites in Oswego County. And it started out, some of them were very, extremely large sites with, thousands of plants, and we're really working those down to where there's hundreds on maybe the bigger sites, single plant on other locations. So that's going very well. Our water chestnut program also has been a big success. Just a recap of kind of the history of that for those that don't know. Starting, I'd say 90s into the early 2000s, there was harvesting that went on with just a single boat. And really, if you were going to harvest all the weeds out there, all the water chestnut, that would have taken probably a half dozen boats, I would say, and dump trucks and, millions of dollars of equipment to get that work done. So in 2010, we switched over to herbicide treatment and continued that. Over 330 acres of water chestnuts, and over time that has worked down to, let's say over the last 10 years, we were treating maybe 2/3 of that to around half. And now this year we actually, just dense populations where there's more vegetation surface than there is water surface visible, at least this time of the year. We only sprayed 51 acres this year, and that was with a drone. The remainder of that, there's still even, let's say, 100 acres or 150 acres left where it's just very scattered plants, 25 feet in between plants, or, even acres where there isn't necessarily anything. If you're just kind of drawing a sort of a polygon along the shoreline or something like that, saying, well, this mile-long stretch has scattered plants, and maybe you'll only get, 100 pounds out of that stretch, or a couple 100 pounds, which is great, because if you had 10 acres that were very dense chestnuts, that would be 200 to 400,000 pounds, likely maybe closer to 500,000 in some places. So these areas, maybe you have that same 10 acres and there's only 1,000 pounds in there. So a huge success. We do use, for that hand pulling aspect, we do have a crew of interns. This year we hired five interns, all from SUNY ESF, including a sixth member that we had for forestry, all from SUNY ESF as well. So that program has gone quite well. The interns, really not an impressive, a weight that they pulled. It may be 8,000 to 10,000 pounds this year, but the scattered nature of those plants that they're trying to get is really isn't conducive to get this huge 20 or 30,000 pound weight for a summer, but it's still very effective, well worth the input to get them to get those plants, because one plant can produce really if they could produce up to 40 seeds, because there's multiple rosettes that produce up to 5 seeds on them. So and the seeds are good for several years. So we need to continue these efforts, and we're doing doing our best to do that. We actually received for a 3-year span about over $400,000 from an EPA grant to do this water chestnut in very specific watersheds, the Three Rivers area all the way up through the Oswego River, and then as well as the Oswego or the Oneida Lake watershed. And so that was part of a 6-county venture. We did, along with the FLOPA organization, we took or assisted with the application of that, and that was over a $900,000 grant for water chestnut and other invasives in that 6-county region in that watershed. But overall, very busy, lots of calls coming into the office, successful, the invasive species programs, those will be wrapping up. We get into a lot more right now, forestry, agricultural programs, some education, so lots to go for the rest of the year, but it's been a successful year so far.
Okay, great. Thank you for all you do. What is the chemical that you're spraying?
This year it's, we use one of 3, but this year it was called Top Deck, and all of them are the same. They have the same active ingredient, which is the Miazomox.
What is it?
Miazomox.
Does the spraying kill the nut that can sit for 10 years successfully?
It doesn't. It's a surface application, so it's primarily for the weed itself.
So they really do need to come out.
They do. Yeah, it's if you just left it, I'd hate to lose the foothold that we have. If we left it go, I would say inside of 5 years, maybe even 3 years, you would probably be right back up to that, that acreage. There are areas that, occasionally we'll have one, get away, where we're not able to get interns on and maybe pull the scattered plants.
Are they pulling in wet, are they going in wetsuits down?
No, canoes and kayaks. We have a motorboat.
Pulling them from the surface.
You can do it in a number of ways. Early in the season, you really need to pull the entire chain of, the weed out all the way to the root. If you can, we have a permit that allows us to pull it out, even if there's a little sediment that comes up with it. But later in the season, you can get away with just breaking off the rosette, or that's the surface portion.
Last question.
Sure.
Are any other trees under threat from non-native insects? I am appalled with the loss of ash trees. It's horrifying.
Yeah, absolutely. That definitely it tore through the county without a doubt, and that was kind of on our radar really for the last 15 years or something like that. And,
are they going after any other trees?
The emerald ash borer is not. There's plenty of other things to worry about, but I shouldn't say that. I shouldn't say it like that. There are plenty of things that could definitely on the radar.
But this level of devastation.
There could be. I mean, if you ever had, if you had an Asian longhorn beetle breakout or something like that, but the responsible parties have done a great job to keep those at bay, but we're all, everyone is in the forestry realm or agricultural realm is always on the lookout for these sorts of things. So you're always seeing, updates from the Forest Service and DEC and so forth.
So they're saying that's what's driving a lot of Canadian wildfires are the dead ash. They're like matches in the forest. But what is your suggestion for replacement native trees?
For the ash trees, it's just site specific. In a lot of places where you have ash, it'll be taken over by red maple.
Is that a native red maple?
It is, yeah, absolutely. So it's the one you'll see. It can grow in wetlands. It can grow on high and dry area, or poorly drained to well drained. That's the leaf
green with a red vein?
I'm sorry, what was that?
A green leaf with a red vein?
Yeah, it kind of have a red stem. It's definitely native. It's it probably makes up more than 50% of most, most forests in certain areas, unless it's really heavy to pine. But in a lot of cases, we have a lot of red maple in this county for sure. Can just handle the conditions well. That's a great one to replace with, but it's really site specific. So.
You had a question?
Yeah, are you working with Central New York Regional Planning and Development? They've received a huge grant for replacement trees. Are you familiar with that at all?
I am. I talked to them maybe a year or so ago about it, but I haven't heard anything yet. I can certainly touch base with them now and see where that's at.
Just a reminder.
Yeah, absolutely.
We got
that was
$7 million or something.
Thousands of trees they had to be able to be distributed.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm not sure the current status, but I can check on that.
One question I have is, I understand it with the mosquito pellets, the little bags that used to be that you'd give them out. Now we're charging people.
Yes, absolutely. Just to cover, it's a larvicide kit. It's essentially it's small. They come in different forms. The ones we have now, it's a small pellet, and you can put that in bird bath. It's supposed to be containerized water. Like a rain barrel or something of that sort. So just to cover our costs, we are asking for $5 per package, and those are available at our office.
And I think don't you distribute them to some of the municipalities?
We have in the past. This year with charging those, we've made them available at our at our office. We can certainly do that at some point.
Well, with the additional wetlands that we're going to be getting due to Micron, I wonder if Micron could be paying for these kits, because we're going to be having a lot more mosquitoes and a lot more needs for those little duck kits. Mark, that might be something you can add in your report to Micron, is that they need to help us with mosquito control. Frank.
Few questions.
Sure.
The grant money, is that state or federal money?
Which grant?
You just mentioned, one large grant.
Oh, for that's federal money.
straight up, okay? Now, the chemicals that you're using on the chestnut, what is similarity to that the people that are looking at Mianawana, the chemicals that they're looking to use there? They've been in touch with you about Lake Mianawana.
Not recently. I really haven't had a conversation with them and really probably 2 years, to be honest with you. But I've heard of that. That would be an algicide that they would use, so it's a completely different chemical. I don't know. I won't speak to that because I really don't know the trade name or the active ingredient or anything of that nature. We're using something that's a topical treatment. That would be more of a submerged or
The reason I ask is that, we talked about, probably before, that they just still can't give me information for anybody that has been using it for 20 years, so. And even my, grandniece that's a scientist, she says she doesn't know, just recent usage, she doesn't.
Oh, okay. And the last I'd heard, there was talk of, I think it's just been something that's been mentioned. I won't speak to the status of anything, but I do know, I think it was brought up at one point, and algicide, I'm not sure that worked, had any steam. The one thing that I think was presented at a public meeting was more of what's called a phosphorus binder, and I believe that's still being studied by New York State. I don't think there's any results that have been released yet on that, and that's to basically curb what the algae are, what's providing them that, energy to be able to produce a big bloom like that.
And last, the Nestle site, brownfield. How much would you say is brownfield site of that Nestle site?
It's not
brought you in anything?
No, not at all. Not something that we're involved.
The cities, I believe right now, they're selecting an engineer to do a phase 2 on that. That'll give them a lot more information. There's been phase 2s done shortly after the Nestle plant closed back in 2003, 2004, but with everything that's happened, they're knocking down buildings, moving stuff around. They definitely got to go back in there and do. So that's being, and I believe that's using leftover Northern Borders Regional Commission money and money from National Grid to pay for that phase 2. So we probably know November, December.
It's very, both areas are very, very important. That you're not just city of Fulton, but, Oswego County. It's energy coming in, and the water is, would draw a lot there. So, thank you.
Any other questions for Joe? Okay, it's not listed here, but we do have a report. Marine Sanctuary.
Last night. I'm the county's representative to the Federal Advisory Council, so as something happens, I'll report back to this. It won't be this committee, it won't be every month, but this month there was a lot happening. I'll start with this. Because the 4 counties work together to bring a national park here, the National Association of the Counties selected us to receive a Achievement Award for 2025. So I'll pass that around if you want to do
It's a national association.
It's a national, yes, it's a national award, and if the committee or the legislature wants a photo op, please let Betsy or just I'll arrange that. Newly appointed Sanctuary Advisory Council met for the first time last week. Congratulations are in order. Austin Nelock was not only appointed to it, he was elected Secretary of the Council last week. And
another hat.
Take the minutes now.
Also, another Oswego County resident, Bill Christ, who was the chairman of the council prior to designation, was elected to be the chairman again for the permanent, which is good news because that continuity is there, and he did a tremendous job shepherding this through. The vice chair is Katie Malinowski, who's the director of the Technical Commission. I previously reported on the expedition that was here in May, so I won't go over that. But what they did report last week that we didn't know they were doing, they sent the NOAA dive team here in June for several days and surveyed 11 more shipwrecks that are within the sport diving limit, which is the first stage of assessing them for the placement of buoys so we can begin promoting public and diver access to these 11 shipwrecks. They, depending on how budgets turn out, They plan to begin buoying these wrecks next year. It's the equivalent of having trails and trailheads and parking in the Adirondacks. If you don't have the buoys, you don't have the public access. You can't do the tourism promotion. So we're looking forward to that happening. The budget is a mixed bag. Good news in the budget is that House and Senate committees have restored some of the money that was cut initially. So they're expecting, if it passes, level funding in total through 2026. Bad news in that is, this total amount, but they've lost 1/3 of their staff, and the construction budget was eliminated, which means any efforts towards interpretive centers, kiosks, interpretive materials isn't going to happen in 26, and is going to be delayed until a fight is made to bring any of that money back. There are debates going on that construction budget, trying to restore some of it, including, but part of that is politics with one particular area trying to get the entire construction budget for their one sanctuary. So we'll see how that turns out. The sanctuary, as you know, is co-managed between the federal government and the state of New York because these are state waters. State DOT was there, and they reiterated the state support for the sanctuary, and we're trying to figure out how they can fill in some of the gaps. Also, a friends of the sanctuary group is forming, and the purpose of that group will to be fundraising and seeking grants to help fill the gaps for the federal government. So there seems to be a lot of interest in that friends group and people coming forward to be members of that. So that's the update so far. And they did, with this hiring freeze, they cannot hire, they're prohibited from hiring staff for the sanctuary here. What NOAA is doing is shifting internally. The superintendent of the Thunder Bay Marine Sanctuary in Michigan is now the acting superintendent also of the Wisconsin one and ours. So that's not ideal. The good part of it is Jeff Gray is his name. Some of you may have met him when he was here a couple times during the whole resignation process. He's been running a shipwreck sanctuary for 20 years. He knows the business and how to do it. He indicated to me he's fighting for his travel budget so he can get over here a lot. So if we can swing it, I'll let you know when he's in town, and maybe we can invite him to give you an update. So, awesome. He did say that these expeditions, both the research vessel that did the deepwater wrecks and the dive team that came in, is the most resources he has ever seen dedicated to the Starling Sanctuary, and that most sanctuaries have to wait years to get that type of allocation towards it. Between Deepwater, remote operated expedition, and the NOAA dive team, they surveyed 28 shipwrecks out here out of the suspected 70 to 80. So it's a really good start for us. Now it's going to slow down a bit because of the federal budget, but I take the long view on this. In the long run, it's still going to be a big thing.
Why do you think we had so much resource?
They were very excited about this one, and they everything that happened this year was budgeted previously because they recognized how unique this was. The dive team and the scientists and the archaeologists who now lives in Constantia, they're kids in mechanics stories, so they've never seen anything like it anywhere in the world. So even Thunder Bay is a little jealous. All
right.
So it'll slow down a little bit now, but it's a long
Okay. Any other questions about the Reed Sanctuary? Bob?
Oh, not about the Reed Sanctuary. Can we get a second on that bid?
The bid for the cable?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, there was like 8 of them.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, there was quite a few that did it. A lot of them were a lot more, a couple of them were less, but they did.
No. Second on the motion.
Oh, I thought you were talking the bid.
Yeah, I didn't hear like an actual vote on it.
On the bid?
Right.
Okay. All right. Do I have a second on the bid?
Well, let me just make a motion to accept the bid.
Okay.
Okay.
What was the name? Welco?
Yeah, Wilco.
So we need a second?
Second.
And
We vote.
Thank you.
We vote. If there was no second on the first one.
yeah, we just did a revote then. Yes.
Okay.
Okay. All right, thank you. I have the, all in favor? Any opposed?
Yes.
Been done. Okay, how about leaving the
Motion
meeting?
to adjourn.
Second, got it.
Yeah, let me give you a call on that.
Yeah, no, you're fine. Just I didn't want to forget.
Okay. Hypothetically, say you have a 50 acre.
Actually, I didn't either.